Hello and welcome to Traditional Painting the Digital Way. This is where I use digital painting apps to teach traditional painting techniques. This is part 6 in my portrait lesson series, and this video is going to cover the highlighting of the eyes and working on the hat. We'll be using Infinite Painter for Android, and if you want to follow along traditionally, I have a list of all the materials that I use in part 1 of this series. So I want to start by doing a little bit of blending on the face, and I just pick and find places that need a little bit of blending in under the nose and on the cheekbones. And I'm using the Angelo brush set to blend for this. And I just want to soften the features out a little bit more, work on that, work on the shadows a little bit, her chin a little bit. And then I want to work on the eyes. And I'm going to go ahead and change her eye color just a little bit. I want to make it darker. So burnt umber is probably a good choice to pick, but we want a little bit of a darker brown here. And I'm also adjusting the shape of her eyes and adding a little bit more white there, making the irises rounded, and I'm using the same color. Make sure you use the same color for both eyes. And I'm going to go ahead and use more burnt umber for that. Adjust the pupil size a little bit. Just kind of overall correcting the shape of the eyes here and making them a little bit more accurate. And then I want to work on the eyelashes as well. And how you portray eyelashes in a lot of portraits is you don't draw individual eyelashes. They're usually portrayed as a broken line, sort of a jagged look, because you can't really see the individual eyelashes in your reference photo. So you can use ultramarine blue and burnt sienna to make a jagged line there for the eyelashes. And I'm going to go ahead and use that same dark color to make the shadows on her mouth, where you can see the separation of her upper and bottom lip there, and a little bit of shadows in the corner of her mouth. And I'm just sort of adjusting that and smudging that in, making sure that it stays soft. And then we want to go ahead and do a little bit more work around the eyes again and on the eyelids. And just kind of go ahead and soften the edges of the pupils just a little bit. And then we want to go ahead and add a highlight here. And so I take the flesh color, or just orange, and add white to it, but we don't want a pure white here, and we kind of want a dry brush effect on the highlights. And when you do that, it really makes the eyes come alive when you put the highlights in. So make sure that you get them in the correct place so that the eyes are looking both in the same direction, and just make sure that they're soft looking when you put them in too. And then I'm going to do a little bit more work around on her hair and use that to adjust the shape of her ear a little bit, and just go ahead and work on the shadow underneath the hat brim. You can use dioxazine purple for that, and use your short script brush. Go ahead and add some purple into the hair, and then go ahead and take your hair mixture and use it to shape the ear a little bit, and paint around the ear and above it and below it. And then I want to go ahead and work on the hat some more, and you use yellow ochre with white for this mixture. And I want to kind of bring it down a little bit and adjust the brim, because the brim's a little bit too high. So I need to go ahead and adjust that. So I'm trying to bring it down a little bit, and then while I have this color, this yellow ochre color, I decided to put the highlights, some more highlights on her face, because she's going to have some reflected highlight from her hat on her face. So I just went ahead and put it on her cheeks and above her eyes, and just everywhere that there's kind of a highlight. just throwing in this color. And you need to do that really with any kind of picture. You want to kind of pull your colors together. It's called color continuity. So you want to kind of put your color throughout your picture, not just in one place, because it helps add harmony to your pictures. So I'm going ahead and adding that yellow color just a little bit to her face and adding it on the highlight parts of her face. And then I went ahead and added a little bit of some shadows, but these are softer shadows. And I'm working just a little bit on the shape of her face again, trying to get it a little bit wider. It just needed to be a little bit broader, her face does, and her chin. And then I threw in a little bit of the color to the shirt, but mainly I need to work on the hat. So in order to cut the brim down for the hat, I've used the background color. And the background color was ultramarine blue with some hooker's green and some white. You just want an aqua color. And you can go ahead and just use that background color to cut the hat down. And then I'm working on the brim a little bit more, adding a little bit of a darker yellow ochre underneath to kind of give the shadow. Working on the shape of the crown, and then I decided the brim needed to be brought down quite a bit more closer to the level of her eyes, and cut down the brim at the top. And you just have to keep working back and forth and make your strokes for the background go up and down so that you can kind of hide that you made a mistake, and just go ahead and blend those strokes in a little bit. And then just go ahead but you don't have to blend the strokes in completely because your background is rough. It doesn't matter if you leave some brush strokes showing. So that's what I'm doing there, just working on the crown of the hat as well, adjusting the shape of it, adjusting the brim on the right side there, and making it a little bit smaller. And then I go and pick the pencil selections and make a finer line because I'm starting to try to refine the brim. Plus the pencil textures will also give you a rough look, which is what you want for a straw hat, because this is a straw hat. So I want to go ahead and add a little bit of a lighter yellow here. Just use yellow ochre and add a lot of white to it, but we don't want pure white yet. And make these little curved lines to try to give the straw hat texture. And you can smudge them in a little bit to kind of give that a look like the light is hitting the hat on that side. And then just go ahead and make some more round lines on the other side. And you want the lines to be rounded because you're trying to portray that the hat is a rounded shape. And so you want to make the lines rounded on the crown of the hat as well. And just kind of, it doesn't matter if the lines are completely straight because we're just trying to give the impression of texture right now. And then go ahead and put the hat band in. You can use ultramarine blue with a lot of white in it. And then go ahead and add the pinks, and there's black also in the hat band. And just go ahead and add those, and you can switch back to your Angelo brush. And if you're working traditionally, you'll be using your script brush to do these lines. And just kind of use a dry brush stroke, which means that you won't have a lot of paint, so that the paint looks like it's kind of jagged, and it gives you a real textured look here. And just keep on working on that. And then there's a pattern on her hat, so I used a darker gray color to put some lines, real jagged lines there. They're not going to be real straight, and just keep those jagged. And then I added some darker, just yellow ochre. Just use plain old yellow ochre on the brim of her hat, because this is going to give it the kind of shadowed look, and it'll be darker. So this is the end of part 6 of our portrait lesson. In part 7, we're going to be working on the shirt and painting in the pattern and the ruffles and all the texture that goes on it. So if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below. And thank you everybody for watching, and thank you for all your support, and I will catch you later.